You left it.
Oh my gosh, I would do Jurassic Park.
All right, we're
Totally.
being recorded.
Oh, we are on. Hi, guys. This is the Quarantine Theater Company, and we got a treat for you. We are doing a read of the musical Into the Woods, and we have a great cast here. We have Hunter, who's going to be our baker. Jessica is going to be Baker's wife, and also Cinderella's mother. Angela will be reading as the witch, and Cinderella, showing us her versatility. Paul is here as Jack, and also as Rapunzel's prince. Ryan, somewhere there, there's Ryan. He's going to be reading as the wolf, the stepmother, and the baker's father. Travis is here to read for Giant, Lucinda, Granny, and Steward. I will be reading as Cinderella's prince and Florinda and Jack's mother. And Bridget has the most important job of all. She will be reading our scene description, but that is not all. She's also reading as Rapunzel and singing as Little Red. So you'll be seeing a lot of her tonight, and I will let you take it away.
All right. Into the Woods, screenplay by James Lapine, music and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim, based on the musical by Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine. I don't think we need to read all the musical numbers. Fade up, gray clouds of an early morning sky.
Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom, there lay a small village at the edge of the woods.
Suddenly, the well-worn boot of Cinderella steps into the frame and lands on what we thought was the sky, but in fact is simply its reflection in a puddle of water. A strong chord accents the splash, and we begin a musical vamp. Exterior, Cinderella's house, daybreak. Close-up on Cinderella's dirty hand as it reaches down to gather kindling.
I wish.
And in this village,
Close-up on a bead of sweat as it trickles from her brow, the same hand entering the frame to wipe it.
More than anything.
lived a young maiden.
Angle on Cinderella, a pretty and filthy young woman who finishes mopping her brow and trudges towards the back of a large house, the kindling under her arm.
More than life. More than jewels.
Exterior Jack's farmhouse, day. Close up on Jack's calloused hands as he pulls on a rope.
Carefree young lad.
Angle on Jack, a spaced out 12-year-old who is trying to pull his bony cow Milky White towards his dilapidated cottage.
I wish. More than life.
Interior baker's cottage, day. Close up on a ball of dough. The baker's thick hand pounds it.
And a childless baker.
Angle on the baker and his wife. Hardworking and honest. He is kneading the dough, which she then takes and puts in the oven.
I wish, with his wife, more than anything.
More than the moon.
I wish.
Interior Cinderella's house, kitchen, day. Cinderella scrubs a huge pot.
The king is giving a festival.
Interior baker's cottage, day. The wife rolls the dough as the baker stokes the hot oven.
More than life.
Interior Jack's farmhouse, day. Inside the tiny cottage, the cow stands bewildered as Jack tries to milk her without success.
I wish.
Interior Cinderella's house, kitchen, day.
I wish to go to the festival.
Baker's cottage.
More than riches.
Cinderella's house.
And the ball.
Jack's farmhouse.
I wish my cow would give us some milk.
Baker's cottage. The wife lifts a heavy sack of flour.
More than anything.
The baker takes bread from the oven.
I wish we had a child.
Jack's farmhouse, now leaning his shoulder against the cow for more leverage as he squeezes her udders.
Please, cow, squeeze, cow.
Baker's cottage.
I want a child.
Jack's farmhouse.
Squeeze, cow.
Cinderella's house, Jack's house, Baker's cottage. She is now scrubbing the floor in front of a large fireplace.
I wish to go to the festival.
Wish we might have a child.
I wish.
I wish.
Cinderella's stepmother moves towards her threateningly. Cinderella's house, kitchen. Cinderella's stepmother, dressed in a robe, her blonde hair rolled in rags, carries herself with an air of disgust, like a medieval Orange County housewife.
You wish to go to the festival?
The poor girl's parents had died.
Her two daughters, also blonde, Florinda and Lucinda, appear on the stairwell, their junior versions of Mom.
You, Cinderella, the festival? You wish to go to the festival?
Florinda and Lucinda move to join their mother.
What, you, Cinderella, the festival, the festival,
The festival? The King's festival?
And now she lived with her stepmother,
The festival.
who had two daughters of her own.
Cinderella rises and shyly retreats, but the stepsisters sweep around her menacingly.
Look at your nails. Lucinda.
Travis, that's you.
Nevertheless.
People would laugh at you.
Nevertheless.
She still wants to go to the festival to dance before the prince.
They roar in derision.
All three were beautiful of face, but vile and black of heart.
Exterior Jack's farmhouse, day. Jack's mother, bedraggled, takes in the laundry.
The young lad had no father, and his mother,
I wish.
well, she was at her wit's end.
I wish my son were not a fool. I wish my house was not a mess. I wish the cow was full of milk. I wish the walls were full of gold. I wish a lot of things.
Jack's farmhouse, continuous. Jack's mother enters the house and stops dead in her tracks when she sees the cow.
What in heaven's name are you doing with the cow inside the house?
I thought if all he needed was a warm environment to produce his milk.
It's a she. How many times must I tell you? Only she's can give milk.
Baker's cottage. The baker and his wife are scurrying about the kitchen.
Then there was a hungry little girl who always wore a red cape.
The baker turns to see a small hand rise up and snatch one of the buns off the counter.
Hey,
The baker swiftly comes around the counter where a small, plump young girl in a red cape, Little Red Riding Hood, studies the goodies. I wish. It's not for me, it's for my granny in the woods. A loaf of bread, please, to bring my poor old hungry granny in the woods. Just a loaf of bread, please. Cinderella's house, kitchen. The stepsisters are still laughing at Cinderella. The stepmother looks around the room and sees a large bowl of lentils. She walks over, picks it up, and violently flings the bowl towards Cinderella, strewing the beans across the room and into the fireplace.
Cinderella, if you can pick up these lentils and finish your chores in time, then you may go to the ball with us. Come along, ladies.
Yes, mother.
They sweep out of the room, giggling. Back on Cinderella, she stands forlornly, studying the mess that awaits her. She closes her eyes and begins to gently sway as if going into a trance.
Come, little birds, down from the eaves and the leaves and the fields, out of castles and ponds. Ah.
Jack's farmhouse. Jack is trying to milk the cow as his mother looks on dubiously.
No squeeze, pal.
Jack's mother hears the loud squalling of birds and runs to the window, sticking her head out. Jack's mother's POV. Birds flying en masse over their house. Cinderella's house. We see the birds swarming and flying down the chimney. Cinderella's house. Cinderella opens her eyes to greet the birds that now surround her.
Quick little birds, flit through the ashes, pick and peck, but swiftly slip through the ashes into the pot.
The birds spread out and begin their task. Jack's farmhouse. Jack sits atop Milky White as if she were a horse, his arm whirling as he releases a sling and sends a stone hurtling toward a tin cup on top of the doorframe. There is a loud clang.
Bullseye!
Jack's mother was just exiting the house. The cup falls down, narrowly missing her.
What are you doing? Stop your pretending.
She grabs Jack's sling and pulls him away from the cow.
Now listen to me well, son. Milky White must be taken to market.
No, mother, he's the best cow in the whole world.
Was. Ugh, she's been dry for weeks. We've had no food or money and no choice but to sell her.
But Milky White is my best friend.
Look at her. There are bugs on her dugs. There are flies in her eyes. There's a lump on her hump, big enough to be a hump.
But
We've no time to sit and dither while her withers wither. And no one keeps a cow for a friend. Sometimes I wonder what's in that head of yours.
Baker's cottage. Little Red Riding Hood gives the baker a coin as his wife looks on adoringly. She loves having the little girl here. The baker, not so much. Into the woods, it's time to go. I hate to leave, I have to though. Into the woods, it's time, and so I must begin my journey. Into the woods and through the trees to where I am expected, ma'am. Into the woods to grandmother's house. She shoves the entire bun in her mouth. Into the woods to grandmother's house.
Certain of your way.
As Little Red Riding Hood sings, she begins to help herself to all the buns she can lay her hands on. The way is clear, the light is good. I have no fear, nor no one should. The woods are just trees, the trees are just wood. I sort of hate to ask it, but do you have a basket? The wife reaches for a basket, while the baker tries to wrest away a bun or two from the girl.
I don't suppose you're planning on buying any of these.
The wife gives the baker a look, and then hands Little Red Riding Hood a basket.
Now, don't stray and be late.
And you might save some of those sweets for Granny.
Exterior the village, day, moments later. The baker and his wife are in front of their shop, watching as Little Red Riding Hood skips down the lane. Into the woods and down the dell, the path is straight, I know it well. Into the woods, and who can tell what's waiting on the journey? Into the woods to bring some bread to Granny, who is sick in bed. Never can tell what lies ahead, for all that I know, she's already dead. Her path takes her through an ancient graveyard and on towards the forest's edge. But into the woods, into the woods, into the woods to grandmother's house and home before dark. Cinderella's house, kitchen. The birds are dropping the last of the lentils into the pot.
Cinderella! Get up here!
Fly birds back to the sky.
The birds begin to make their way out through the fireplace and windows as Cinderella sings her incantation.
We are waiting! Back to the eaves and the leaves and the fields and the...
Cinderella's house dressing room. A room of mirrors. Lucinda and Florinda, dressed in their ball gowns, study themselves side by side. Reflected over and over. Cinderella enters through a mirrored door, breaking the image.
Hurry up and do my hair, Cinderella.
Florinda pulls at one of Lucinda's bows.
Are you really wearing that?
Lucinda grabs Cinderella.
Here, I found a little tear, Cinderella.
Lucinda eyes Florinda's hair.
Oh, yeah. Can't you hide it with a hat?
Cinderella grabs a stool and brings it next to Florinda.
You look beautiful.
She stands on the stool and begins fixing Florinda's hair.
I know.
She means me.
No, she didn't.
The two stepsisters bicker as Cinderella brushes and twists their hair into tight curls.
Mother said be good, mother said be nice. That was always their advice, so be nice, Cinderella. Good, Cinderella. Nice, good, good, nice.
Mother!
Cinderella obliges and becomes more aggressive with the hairstyling, her emotions building as she thinks to herself.
What's the good of being good if everyone is blind, always leaving you behind? Never mind, Cinderella. Kind Cinderella. Nice, good, nice. Kind, not good, nice.
Florinda screams, bringing Cinderella back to reality.
Ow! Not that tight, Claude.
She reels around and smacks Cinderella, who stands stunned. The stepsisters giggle and snort. Baker's cottage. The baker and his wife are cleaning up after their day's work. There's an unexpected knock at the door. They stare at one another momentarily.
Who might that be?
We've sold our last loaf of bread.
The baker opens the window a crack to see who is at the door.
It's the witch from next door.
The door pops off its frame and goes flying across the room in a giant puff of smoke. The baker and his wife scream and cower in a corner. As the fog clears, we see the witch for the first time, and she's not a pretty sight. Mice and other vermin drop from beneath her cape and scatter through the cottage.
We have no bread.
I don't want your bread.
Then what is it you wish?
It's not what I wish, it's what you wish.
She moves towards the wife as the baker tries unsuccessfully to protect her. She points her gross finger toward her belly.
Nothing cooking in that belly now, is there? And there never will be.
She looks away.
Unless you do exactly as I say. In 3 days' time, a blue moon will appear. Only then will the curse be undone.
What curse?
The one I placed on this house.
What are you talking about?
In the past, when you were no more than a babe, your father brought this young wife to you into this cottage. They were a lovely couple, but not lovely neighbors. You see, your mother was with child, and she developed an unusual appetite. She admired my beautiful garden, and she told your father that what she wanted more than anything in the world was greens, and nothing but greens, parsley, peppers, cabbages, and celery, asparagus, and watercress, and philophrons, and lettuce. He said, all right, but it wasn't quite, 'cause I caught him in the autumn in my garden one night.
Witch's Garden night flashback. Witch's POV. In the moonlight, we see the baker's father wearing a hunting jacket scale over the witch's wall and into her garden. From behind the wooden trellis, she watches him as he gathers her greens.
He was robbing me, raping me, rooting through my rutabaga, raiding my arugula,
Baker's Cottage, present.
and ripping up the rampion, my champion, my favorite. I should have laid a spell on him right there. I could have turned him into a stone or a dog or a chair. But I let him have the rampion. I had lots to spare.
Witch's Garden night flashback. Again, only seeing the witch from behind, she confronts the baker's father as he sheepishly holds the stolen vegetables.
In return, however, I said, fair is fair. You can let me have the baby that your wife will bear.
Baker's Cottage, present.
And we'll call it square.
I had a brother?
No, but you had a sister.
Where is she?
She's mine now, and you'll never find her. Small price to pay for what else your father stole from me. It cost me my youth, my beauty. My mother warned me she would punish me with the curse of ugliness if I ever lost them.
Just what?
The beans!
Beans?
The special beans!
Witch's Garden night flashback. The baker's father steals the witch's beans and pockets them.
I let him go. I didn't know he'd stolen my beans.
Witch's point of view. The baker's father scales his way back over the garden wall.
I was watching him crawl back over the wall and bang, crash, and lightning flashed.
Lights suddenly illuminate the baker's father, as if it was a flash from the Hiroshima blast. A look of horror crosses his face. Baker's father's POV. Light illuminates the witch as she walks back toward her house. Suddenly, her youthful hands morph before our eyes into those of an aged hag. The camera pans up to find her withered face. Baker's Cottage, present. A lightning flash rips through the baker's cottage.
Well, that's another story. Never mind. Anyway, at last the big day came. I made my claim. Oh, don't take away the baby, they shrieked and screeched.
Baker's Cottage night flashback. We see the witch's gross hands snatch the baby from a cradle.
But I did, and I hid her where she'll never be reached.
Baker's Cottage, present.
And your father cried, and your mother died, and with extra measure, I admit it was a pleasure. I said, sorry, I'm still not mollified. And I laid a little spell on them, you too, son, that your family tree will always be a barren one.
The wife falls into the baker's arms weeping.
How could you do that to me?
And when your mother died and your father deserted you, your father was no father. Why should you be?
I'm so sorry.
Now there's no more fuss and there's no more scenes, and my garden thrives. You should see my nectarines, but I'm telling you the same I tell kings and queens.
The witch grabs some magical-looking beans from a small satchel she carries across her body. She displays them.
Don't you ever mess around with my greens, especially the beans.
Jack's farmhouse. Jack with his cow stands outside with his mother.
Why do I have to go to the next village?
Because everyone in this village knows the cow hasn't given a drop of milk in weeks.
But that's cheating.
We're starving, Jack. Don't you understand that? You're not to take less than 5 pounds for her. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
How much are you to ask?
No more than 5 pounds.
She grabs his ear and squeezes it hard.
Less than 5.
5.
She lets go and puts the cow's leash in his hand and pushes him down the road toward the woods.
Into the woods, the time is now. We have to live, I don't care how. Into the woods to sell the cow. You must begin the journey. Straight to the woods and don't delay. We have to face the marketplace. Into the woods to journey's end.
Into the woods to celebrate.
Baker's cottage, continuous. The witch, the baker, and the baker's wife.
You wish to have the curse reversed?
The baker and his wife nod.
I'll need a certain potion first.
The witch intently turns on them.
Go to the wood and bring me back 1. The cow is white as milk. 2. The cape as red as blood. 3. The hair as yellow as corn. 4. The slipper as pure as gold. Bring me these before the chime of midnight in 3 days' time. 'Tis then the blue moon reappears, which comes but once each 100 years. Bring them, and I guarantee a child as perfect as child can be. Go to the wood!
The witch flings her arms, and a 100-mile wind throws the couple and all of their belongings across the room as she disappears in a cloud of smoke. Or is it flour? Cinderella's house, entry courtyard. An open-air carriage and horses await in the courtyard. The stepmother, dressed to the nines, sweeps out of the house and impatiently calls over her shoulder.
Ladies, our carriage awaits.
Cinderella darts out of the house, holding out the bowl of lentils to her stepmother.
Now may I go to the festival?
The festival? Darling, those nails, darling, those clothes. Lentils are one thing, but darling, but those. You'd make us the fools of the festival, and mortify the prince.
The festival lasts 3 nights. Surely you can let me be there for one of them.
The king is trying to find his son a wife, not a scullery maid. We must be gone.
As the stepmother climbs into the carriage, the stepsisters race by in their fancy attire, whooshing past Cinderella excitedly. As Cinderella watches from the doorway, the carriage leaves through the gate.
I wish.
Baker's cottage. The baker is trying to clean up the mess when his wife races downstairs holding his father's hunting jacket. She hands it to the baker.
Here, take this.
I'm not wearing that.
Why?
It was my father's. You heard what she said. This is all his fault.
The baker throws the jacket to the ground.
I want nothing to do with him.
The wife sees that beans have spilled out of the pocket.
Look,
She picks them up.
beans. The witch's beans. We'll take them with us.
Wait a minute. You're not coming. It's not safe out there.
The baker puts a hunting knife in his belt.
I can help you.
No, I can do this on my own. The spell is on my house.
No, the spell is on our house.
Only I can lift the spell. The spell
We
is
must
on
lift
my
the spell
house.
together. The spell is on our house.
Now tell me, what am I to return with?
You don't remember? The cow is white as milk. The cape is red as blood. The hair is yellow as corn. The slipper is pure as gold.
The cow is white as milk. The cape is red as blood. The hair is yellow as corn. The slipper is pure as gold.
Cinderella's house, entry courtyard. As Cinderella approaches the gate, an old groundskeeper closes and locks it.
I still wish to go to the festival, but how am I ever to get to the festival?
Exterior of the village, Cinderella's house, day. With the cottage behind him, the baker appears dressed for his journey. His wife hurries toward him with his satchel and places it around his neck. He proceeds down the cobblestone lane, his wife walking next to him. Cinderella looks through the bars, watching the carriage disappear down the road.
Cow is white as milk. The cape is red as blood. The hair is yellow as corn.
I know I'll visit Mother's grave, the grave of the willow tree, and tell her I just want to go to the king's festival.
Slipper is pure as gold. The cow, the cape, the slipper is pure as gold.
The hair.
Cinderella's house, exterior of the village, day. Cinderella has thrown a shawl around herself and is heading out the back of the house. She places a ladder against the stone wall and begins to climb. The baker and his wife leave the village and begin moving towards the woods.
Into the woods, it's time to go. It may be all in
All
vain.
I
to go
know. Into the
into
woods,
but even so, I have to
must
take the
begin the
journey.
Into the woods, the path is straight. You know it well.
But who can tell?
Into the woods to lift the spell.
Cinderella's house. Cinderella climbs over the wall.
Into the woods to visit Mother.
Exterior dirt road by Jack's farmhouse. Jack's mother watches from the distance as Jack leads Milky White up the path.
Into the woods to sell the cow.
To get the money.
Cinderella's house, other side of the wall. Cinderella drops down from the wall and runs off.
To go to the festival.
Exterior woods, natural archway, stream, day. Little Red Riding Hood enters the archway that frames the entrance into the woods. Into the woods to grandmother's house! Into the woods to grandmother's house! Intercutting, the baker entering the same archway, Cinderella crossing a stream, and Little Red Riding Hood weaving her way down a gully.
The way is clear, the light is good. I have no fear, nor no one should. The woods are just trees,
The trees
trees
are
are
just
just
wood.
wood.
No need to be afraid there.
All three of them stop with sudden trepidation.
There's something in the glade there.
The baker walks deeper into the woods. Exterior dirt road by Jack's farmhouse. The carriage carrying the Step family crosses a small country bridge, then passes Jack's mother. One of the wheels turns in a puddle and splashes her with mud.
Into the woods,
without delay.
Careful not to lose the way. Into the woods, who
Who
knows
knows what may be
lurking on the
the
journey. Exterior woods, natural archway. Jack enters the archway into the woods with his cow.
Into the
Into the
woods
woods
to get the thing that makes it worth the journey.
Woods. Various angles on each of our characters in different woodland surrounds.
Into the woods to see the king.
Tell the cow.
To make the potion.
Quick intercuts between the characters.
To
To
see,
see,
To sell, to get, to bring, to make, to
Hey.
live, to go
To go to the
festival.
festival.
The camera slowly rises through the trees as the vast forest swallows up our intrepid travelers.
Into the woods.
woods.
Into
the
the
woods.
woods.
Into the woods,
And long before dark.
dark.
Cinderella's mother's grave. A large willow tree stands tall.
Deep within the woods, Cinderella had planted a branch at the grave of her mother. She visited there so often and wept so much that her tears watered it until it had become a magnificent tree.
Cinderella kneels in prayer.
I wish.
She begins to cry. Music. In the reflection, Cinderella sees the tree slowly twist and turn, taking on the shape of her mother, who looks down upon her.
What is it that you wish, child?
Cinderella looks up to see her mother in the tree.
Do you know what you wish? Are you certain what you wish is what you want? If you know what you want, then make a wish. Ask the tree, and you shall have your wish.
Cinderella closes her eyes and makes her wish. Another angle. The wind now blowing the willow tree. Its leaves begin to rain down on Cinderella, turning gold and silver as they swirl around her, transforming her clothes into a beautiful gown. Cinderella looks down to see that she is now wearing a pair of shoes literally made of gold leaf. When she looks back up, the tree has now returned to its former shape.
Thank you, Mother.
She dashes into the woods. Exterior woods, flowered path. Little Red Riding Hood walks along the path.
On her path to Granny's, the little girl suddenly found herself in a very unusual part of the wood.
Wolf's POV. Branches and leaves rush by in a blur. Suddenly, the camera stops, and in the distance, we see Little Red Riding Hood strolling down a path of exotic flowers as she munches on a treat. We hear heavy breathing. The camera continues stalking its prey, moving closer towards Little Red Riding Hood through the brush. Angle on Little Red Riding Hood as she continues walking and eating.
Good day, young lady.
She turns around, and what she sees, through a child's eyes, is a super slick, good-looking guy. What she doesn't notice is his curiously low hairline, something of a snout, and a tail peeking from beneath his waistcoat. Good day, Mr. Wolf.
Whither away so hurriedly?
To my grandmother's.
And what might be in your basket?
It's bread for grandmother, so she'll have something good to make her strong.
And where might your grandmother live?
A quarter of a league further in the woods. Her house stands inside a great oak tree. She continues on the path. The wolf looks after her longingly.
Look at that flesh, pink and plump. Hello, little girl. Tender and fresh, not one lump. Hello, little girl. This one's especially lush. Delicious.
With inhuman speed, he manages to suddenly be back in front of the girl on the path.
Hello, little girl. What's your rush? You're missing all the flowers. The sun won't set for hours. Take your time.
Straight ahead, not to delay or be misled. She continues moving forward. He slithers around her. This wolf has some smooth moves.
But slow, little girl. Hark and hush. The birds are singing sweetly. You'll miss the birds completely. You're traveling so fleetly.
He drops behind again, thinking to himself.
Grandmother first, then Miss Plump. What a delectable couple. Utter perfection, one brittle, one supple.
Racing ahead and then darting out from a tree.
One moment, my dear.
Mother said, come what may, follow the path and never stray.
Just so, little girl. Any path, so many worth exploring. Just one would be so boring. And look what you're ignoring.
He ushers Little Red Riding Hood off the path to a lush meadow blanketed with exquisite purple flowers and wild berries.
Think of those crisp, aging bones, then something fresh on the palate. Think of that scrumptious carnality twice in one day. There's no possible way to describe how you feel when you're talking to your meal.
The wolf picks a flower and hands it to Little Red Riding Hood.
For Granny.
Mother said not to stray, still I suppose a small delay. Granny might like a fresh bouquet. Goodbye, Mr. Wolf.
Goodbye, little girl. And hello.
The wolf climbs to the top of a precipice where he is silhouetted by the red-hot sun. He lets out a mighty howl. Flowered path day, continuous. Little Red Riding Hood goes about her business, picking flowers further from her path. Angle on the baker, who has been observing Little Red Riding Hood from a distance. Like a bat, the witch swings upside down from a tree above the baker.
Why are you just standing there? Get the cape!
You frightened me.
The witch swings to the ground.
Get it! Get it! Get it!
How am I supposed to get it?
You go up to the little thing and you take it!
I can't just take a cloak from a little girl. Why don't you take it?
It's in the rules. Why don't you think I'm allowed to ask you in the first place? I'm not allowed to touch any of the objects.
We suddenly hear the lilting sound of a young voice singing in the distance. The witch, almost intoxicated by her sound, swoons with delight. Then...
Get me what I need! Get me what I need!
She wraps the cape about herself and disappears in a strong blast of wind that it knocks the baker to the ground.
This is ridiculous.
Another angle. Little Red Riding Hood is picking flowers off the path, blithely unaware of anything else. The baker gets up and hurries over to her.
Hello there, little girl.
Oh, hello, Mr. Baker.
Have you saved some of those sweets for Granny?
I ate all the sweets and half the loaf of bread.
So I see. Now tell me, where did you get that beautiful cape?
Oh, my granny made it for me.
Is that right? I would love a red cape like that.
You'd look pretty foolish.
May I look at it?
No. He quickly unties it. He pulls it off her back. She grabs the other side.
I need it badly.
Please, give it back. They have a tug of war. The baker pulls free and runs off with the cape. Little Red Riding Hood stands there momentarily stunned, then lets out a large scream. Angle on the baker. He stops cold, realizing what he's done, then runs back to Little Red Riding Hood and places the cape around her shoulders.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that you really love this cape. Now, off you go to Granny's. Be careful that no wolf comes your way.
I would rather a wolf than you any day. Little Red Riding Hood stamps on his foot. The baker hops on his good foot.
This is hopeless. I'll never get that red cape or find a golden cow and a yellow slipper. Was it a golden slipper and a yellow cow?
The cow is white as milk, the cape is red as blood, the hair is yellow as corn, the slipper is pure as...
He stops in his tracks.
What are you doing here?
The wife steps out from behind a thicket.
You forgot your scarf.
You shouldn't be here. It's not safe in these woods.
I want to help.
She goes to tie the wool scarf around his neck, but he pulls away.
No, the spell is on my house.
Our house.
Only I can lift the spell. The spell
We
is
must
on
lift
my
the spell
house.
together. The spell on.
The spell is on.
The two stop cold when they notice Jack and his cow coming down the path towards them.
Cow as white as...
They look at each other.
milk.
The wife pushes the baker in Jack's direction, then follows.
Hello there, young lad.
Hello, sir.
What might you be doing with a cow in the middle of the forest?
I was heading toward market, but I seem to have lost my way.
What are you planning to do there?
And what are you planning to do there?
Sell my cow, sir. No less than 5 pounds.
5 pounds? Where are we to get 5 pounds?
The wife moves forward to Jack as the baker goes through the pockets of his hunting jacket looking for money.
She must be generous with milk to fetch 5 pounds.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you can't fetch that sum, then what are you to do?
I hadn't thought of that.
That's all we have.
She inspects his hand, which holds a few coins and the 6 magic beans.
Beans! We mustn't give up our beans. Well, if you feel we must.
Huh?
Beans in exchange for my cow?
Oh, these are no ordinary beans, son. These beans carry magic.
Magic? What kind of magic?
Tell him.
The baker has no idea. He makes something up.
Magic. That defies description.
How many beans?
6.
5. They're worth £1 each, at least.
Could I buy my cow back someday?
Well,
The wife gives him a little poke.
Yes.
possibly. Here,
He hands Jack the 5 beans, carefully dropping them one at a time into the boy's hand. The wife quickly takes the 6th bean and puts it in her pocket.
good luck there, young lad.
As the baker takes the cow's leash, Jack wraps his arms around the bony animal.
One day I'll buy you back. I promise.
Jack kisses the cow. The baker looks to his wife guiltily. Overcome with emotion, Jack runs back into the woods.
Take the cow and go home.
Just trying to help.
Magic beans. We no reason to believe they're magic. Are we going to dispel this curse through deceit?
No one would have given him more for this creature. We did him a favor. At least they'll have some food.
5 beans?
Do we want a child or not?
Of course, but
We have one chance. Don't you see that? And if we fail,
I'm just not sure I'm cut out to be a father.
why do you say that?
Because of my father.
You're not him.
I don't know.
If you can't do this for yourself, can't you at least do it for me?
All right. You take the cow and go home. I'll find the rest of the things on my own.
The baker walks away. Exterior woods. Rapunzel's prince glides through the woods on a white steed. It's difficult to say who is more beautiful, the prince or the horse. From the corner of his eye, he notices something in the distance. He slows down and circles back and hears the melodious singing of Rapunzel. He dismounts and slips through the brush to see Rapunzel's tower. Prince, POV. An exquisite tower surrounded by a thicket of tall rose bushes with no entryway, just a lone window at its peak. At the bottom of the tower, the witch looks upward.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me.
The prince hiding within the brush.
Rapunzel.
At the window, the gorgeous young blonde girl, Rapunzel, proceeds to lower the longest stretch of hair you've ever seen. The witch scales up the tower. This causes more than a little discomfort for Rapunzel.
The old enchantress had given the name Rapunzel to the child she had hidden away and locked in a doorless tower. But little did she know that the girl's lilting voice had caught the attention of a handsome prince. A handsome prince.
The prince was here.
Rapunzel.
The prince dashes back to his horse and gallops off. The witch arrives at the window.
Don't you look lovely today, my dear?
Thank you, Mother.
I brought your favorite, blackberries fresh from the garden.
Exterior Granny's house, day. Little Red Riding Hood walks over a rickety bridge that spans a brook. She stops and stares at the cottage, which is built into a large oak tree.
As the little girl approached her granny's oak tree, she was surprised to see the door standing open.
Oh dear, how uneasy I feel. Perhaps it's all the sweets. Interior Granny's house. Little Red Riding Hood makes her way down a curved staircase in the house. She sees the curtains drawn around her granny's bed, and behind them, the silhouette of what looks like Granny? Granny?
Come in, dearie.
Little Red Riding Hood moves toward the bed with trepidation and slowly pulls back the curtain. The wolf is revealed, lying under the covers, dressed in Granny's nightcap and robe. My grandmother, you're looking very strange. What big ears you have.
The better to hear you with, my dear.
The handsome wolf flashes a smile that reveals a set of gleaming white fangs. Exterior Granny's house. The baker crosses the bridge and heads towards the cottage. He suddenly hears Little Red Riding Hood scream. Nervously, he pulls the knife from his belt.
With a single bound, the wolf had devoured the little girl. Well, it was a full day of eating for both.
Interior Granny's house. The baker enters and hears a loud snore. Brandishing the knife, he moves towards the bed, where he sees the wolf dressed as Granny, sound asleep, a piece of the red cloth sticking out of its mouth. Squeamishly, he pulls back the sheet to see the wolf's swollen stomach. He raises his knife, and as he brings it slashing down, we hear a loud howl from the wolf. Cut to black. Granny's house, later. Fade up on the baker, clearly shaken, leaving the cottage and walking away.
I can't believe I just did that.
Little Red Riding Hood and Granny appear at the doorway behind him. Wait!
What?
Granny?
Granny.
Aren't you going to help us skin that beast?
No, thanks.
What kind of hunter are you?
I'm a baker.
Granny gives him a disdainful look and goes back into the house. Little Red Riding Hood in her cape runs after the baker as he approaches the rickety bridge. Wait a minute. I never thanked you.
You need to be more careful, young lady.
I'm sorry. I should have known better. Mother said straight ahead, not to delay or be misled. I should have heeded her advice, but he seemed so nice. And he showed me things, many beautiful things that I hadn't thought to explore. They were off my path, so I never had dared. I had been so careful, I never had cared. And he made me feel excited, well, excited and scared. Little Red Riding Hood relives her nightmare. Interior Granny's house, day, nightmare. Little Red Riding Hood walks down the staircase toward Granny's bed. She sees the wolf silhouette through the bed curtains. When he said, "Come in," with that sickening grin, how could I know what was in store? Once his teeth were bared, though I really got scared, well, excited and scared. Little Red Riding Hood grabs hold of the bed curtains and pulls them around herself. Interior of the wolf's belly, nightmare. Little Red Riding Hood falls down a dark, cavernous void. But he drew me close and he swallowed me down a dark, slimy path where lie secrets that I never want to know. She lands and sees a blurry form in the distance before realizing it is Granny. And when everything familiar seemed to disappear forever, at the end of the path was Granny once again. Granny reaches out her arms blindly until the two are united in a warm embrace. So we lay in the dark till you came and set us free. Little Red Riding Hood point of view. A crack of light widens until it's clear that she is seeing a knife opening the wolf's stomach that creates the blinding night light. The baker's eye peeks through the slit. And you brought us to the light. Little Red Riding Hood reaches for the baker. Exterior Granny's house day. The baker takes her hand. And we're back at the start. She continues her story. And I know things now, many valuable things that I hadn't known before. Do not put your faith in a cape and a hood. She takes off her cape. They will not protect you the way that they should, and take extra care with strangers. Even flowers have their dangers, and though scary is exciting, nice is different than good. Mr. Baker, you saved our lives. Here. Little Red Riding Hood hands him the cape.
Are you certain?
Yes. Maybe Granny will make me another with the skins of that wolf.
Thank you. Thank you.
Impulsively, he gives her a kiss on the cheek, and as he leaves, the girl wipes it off. Ugh. She makes her way back to Granny's. Now I know, don't be scared. Granny is right, just be prepared. Isn't it nice to know a lot? And a little bit not. Jack's farmhouse, twilight. Having just greeted Jack on his return, his mother stares at the beans he has just handed her.
How could you do this? What sort of boy would exchange a cow for beans?
But they're magic. The man said.
Now get your head out of the clouds.
She angrily throws the beans to the ground.
Mother, no!
She turns to grab Jack's ear, failing to see the electric sparks that flare when the beans strike the ground. Jack's farmhouse, twilight, dragging him up to the hayloft and pushing him to his cot.
You and your worthless adventures. Will you never learn, Jack? To bed without supper for you.
She storms away. Jack lies on his bed, bereft. He sees his sling on the floor and picks it up, cradling it as he closes his eyes. The camera travels to a hole in the wall and looks below to see 5 beanstalks already growing and intertwining, quickly reaching skyward. Exterior King's Castle, night. Wide shot. Sitting on a hilltop surrounded by the woods on all sides, a magical and ageless castle sits aglow. A huge full moon hangs in the sky, but there's already a slither of a shadow beginning to cross its face. We hear music in the background, along with the jovial sounds of the ball.
The first night of the festival ball brought Cinderella her wish. The prince danced only with her, till he turned and she had slipped away.
Suddenly, Cinderella in her ball gown rushes out of a back entrance and onto the terrace, disappearing around a corner. Another angle, the steps. She descends a long stretch of ancient stone steps that lead to the outside grounds. Another angle, continuous. She appears running down a garden path below and into the woods. A beat later, Cinderella's prince dashes out onto a drawbridge, where he spots Cinderella below. He is tall, dark, and impossibly handsome. His steward and other attendants join him.
I must find that girl.
Exterior woods, pathway to the castle, night. The baker's wife is trying to find her way back to the village, pulling an obstinate Milky White on a leash behind her. We see a piece of the castle in the distance. We track Cinderella racing through the brush. Not an easy feat in a ball gown and gold slippers. We hear voices in the distance and the neighing of horses. Cinderella stumbles on a knoll, losing her footing, and rolls over and over to the bottom, landing with a spectacular thud, just yards from the wife.
Are you all right, miss?
Yes, I just need to catch my breath.
Beautiful gown you're wearing. Were you at the King's Festival?
Cinderella, preoccupied, collects herself so she can continue on her way.
Yes.
Aren't you the lucky one? Why ever you're in the woods at this hour?
We hear the prince's entourage approaching.
Please don't let them know I'm here.
She quickly hides herself in the brush. The wife turns around and looks to the top of the rise to see Cinderella's prince on a black stallion with his steward and attendants in tow. He calls down to the wife.
Have you seen a beautiful young woman in a ball gown pass through?
I don't think so, sir.
If I may, my lord, I think I see her over there.
The entourage races off, and Cinderella reappears and sits, catching her breath.
I've never lied to royalty before. I've never anything to royalty before.
Thank you.
If the prince were looking for me, I certainly wouldn't hide.
Well, what brings you here and with a cow?
Oh, my husband's somewhere in the woods. He's undoing a spell.
Oh?
Oh, yes. But tell me, the prince, what was he like?
He's a very nice prince.
And
It's a very nice ball.
And
when I entered, they trumpeted.
And the prince?
Oh, the prince.
Yes, the prince.
Well, he's tall.
The wife sits down next to Cinderella, admiring her dress as they chat.
Is that all? Did you dance? Is he charming? They say that he's charming.
We did nothing but dance.
Yes. And
And it made a nice change.
no, the prince.
Oh, the prince.
Yes, the prince.
He has charm for a prince, I guess.
Yes.
I don't meet a wide range, and it's all very strange.
But why would you run away?
It's not quite what I expected.
Princes, castles, gowns.
I have no experience with those things.
We hear the far-off chimes of midnight from the castle.
But you will return to the festival tomorrow eve?
Yes? No? I don't know.
You don't know. What I wouldn't give to be in your shoes. I mean, your slippers. As pure as gold?
I must get home.
Cinderella runs off.
Wait! I need your shoes!
The wife goes after Cinderella, but then hears a distant cow moan. She turns around to discover that Milky White has taken off.
Milky White!
The witch appears from nowhere.
One midnight gone!
Already?
Get the cow!
The wife takes off after the cow as the camera rises above tree level. The blue shadow has moved a little further across the face of the moon. Exterior Jack's farmhouse the next day, daybreak. A straggly rooster crowing, the sun cutting across its path. Interior Jack's farmhouse. Jack's mother is woken by the rooster crow to find something tickling her nose. She opens her eyes, brushing the something away, then sees that it's a huge leaf pushing in through an open slat in the wall. Exterior Jack's farmhouse, extreme wide shot. The cottage, now dwarfed by a giant beanstalk. Jack's mother, a tiny figure from this distance, comes running out of the house, takes one look at the giant plant, and screams. Exterior woods, tall trees. Various angles of Jack, running feverishly through the woods in search of the baker. He carries a huge sack of large-sized coins over his back. He occasionally calls out, "Mr. Baker!" The baker, peacefully asleep, is curled up in a large root, clutching the red cape like it was his blankie. Suddenly, Jack leaps from atop, calling his name and waking him.
Mr. Baker! Mr. Baker!
What?
Good fortune! Good fortune, sir. Look what I have. 5 gold pieces.
How would you come by 5 gold pieces?
There are giants in the sky. There are big, tall, terrible giants in the sky.
Jack throws him the bag and begins to scale up the root of the tree.
When you're way up high and you look below at the world you left and the things you know, little more than a glance is enough to show you just how small you are. When you're way up high and you're on your own in a world like none that you've ever known, when the sky is lead and the earth is stone.
Exterior beanstalk day flashback. Jack is now climbing the beanstalk.
You're free to do whatever pleases you, exploring things you'd never dare, because you don't care when suddenly there's
Exterior woods day present. Jack is halfway up the tree with the baker below.
a big, tall, terrible giant at the door.
A giant?
A big, tall, terrible lady giant sweeping the floor. And she gives you food and she gives you rest, and she draws you close to her giant breast.
Jack in the tree.
And you know things now that you never knew before. Not till the sky.
The baker listens intently.
Only just when you've made a friend and all, and you know she's big, but you don't feel small. Someone bigger than her comes along the hall to swallow you for lunch. And your heart is lead and your stomach's stone, and you're really scared being all alone. And it's then that you long for the things you've known and the world you left, though the little you own.
Exterior beanstalk day flashback. Jack scurries down the beanstalk with a large sack of coins over his shoulder, occasionally looking up to see if he is being followed.
Fun is done. You steal what you can and run. And you scramble down and you look below, and the world you know begins to grow.
Exterior woods day present. Jack looks down to the baker.
The roof, the house, and your mother at the door. The roof, the house, and the world you never thought to explore. And you think of all of the things you've seen, and you wish that you could live in between.
Jack now scurries down the tree.
And you're back again, only different than before. After the sky, there are giants in the sky. There are big, tall, terrible, awesome, scary, wonderful giants in the sky.
Jack jumps from the tree and lands in front of the baker. He upends the sack and dumps the 5 gold coins on the ground.
So, here's your money, sir. 5 gold pieces. Where's my Milky White?
Milky White is back home with my wife.
Let's go find them.
Jack grabs the baker and excitedly tries to pull him along.
Wait a minute, I'm not sure I want to sell.
But you said I could buy her back. Do you want more money?
No, it's not that.
Keep that. I'll fetch more.
Wait, I didn't say.
But Jack doesn't wait to listen. Taking the empty sack, he runs off excitedly.
Hey, come back.
Exterior woods, tall trees. The baker follows after Jack and collides into his wife, dropping his satchel and revealing the red cape. He hides the money sack.
What are you doing here?
Well,
She doesn't want to tell him that she's lost Milky White.
I see you've got the red cape.
Yes, I've got the cape. Only 2 items left.
3.
2. We've got the cape and the cow.
You've got the cape.
What have you done with the cow?
She ran away. I never reached home. I've been looking for her all night.
How could you?
She might just as easily have run away from you,
But she didn't.
but she might have.
But she didn't.
Who cares?
The witch appears in the tree directly above them.
The cow is gone. Now get it back. Get it back!
We were just going to do that. Here,
He climbs towards her with the cape.
you can have this.
Don't come near me with that, fool. I can't touch it. By midnight tomorrow, bring me the items or that child you wish for will never see the light of day.
With a grand sweep of her cape, the witch throws off dirt and muck over the baker and the baker's wife as she disappears into a cloud of dust. The baker wipes dirt from his mouth.
I don't like that woman.
I'm sorry I lost the cow.
I shouldn't have yelled. Go back to the village. I'll make things right, and then we can just go about our life. No more witches or dim-witted boys or hungry little girls.
The baker's wife starts to speak.
Go. Please, go.
She goes. Exterior woods, pine forest. Wide shot. We hear the hoofbeats of horses coming from both directions. Crossing the frame at each other are Cinderella's prince on his black stallion and Rapunzel's prince on his white steed. They pass out of the frame. After a few beats, they return trotting, meeting in the middle.
Good brother, I was wondering where you'd gone.
I've been looking all night for her.
Her?
Oh, the beautiful one I danced the evening with
Where did she go?
disappeared like the fine morning mist,
She was lovely.
the loveliest.
They dismount and walk their horses through the forest.
I'm not certain of that. I must confess I too have found a lovely maiden. She lives here in the woods.
The woods?
In the background, we see the wife, who has wandered by on her way back home. She stops to eavesdrop on the princes.
Yes, in the top of a tall tower that has no door or stairs.
Where?
2 leagues from here, due east, just beyond the mossy knoll, near the rose thickets.
And how do you manage a visit?
I stand beneath her tower and say, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me. And then she lowers her hair, longest, most beautiful head of hair, yellow as corn, which I climb.
The wife is thrilled by this news and runs off.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel? What kind of a name is that? I've never heard such a thing.
I speak the truth. She's as true as your maiden, a maiden running from a prince. None would run from us.
Yet one has.
The princes lead their horses to a stream that cascades into a magnificent waterfall.
Did I abuse her or show her disdain? Why does she run from me? If I should lose her, how shall I regain the heart she has won from me? Agony beyond power of speech, when the one thing you want is the only thing out of your reach.
High in her tower, she sits by the hour, maintaining her hair. Blithe and becoming, and frequently humming a light-hearted air. Agony, far more painful than yours, when you know she would go with you, if there only were doors.
Agony, oh, the torture they teach,
What's as intriguing
or half so fatiguing
as what's
what's
out of
reach.
reach?
Cinderella's prince studies his reflection in the water.
Am I not sensitive, clever, well-mannered, considerate, passionate, charming, as kind as I'm handsome, and heir to a throne?
You are everything maidens could wish for.
Then why no?
Do I know?
The girl must be mad.
The Rapunzel prince scales a hanging vine as if it were Rapunzel's hair.
You know nothing of madness till you're climbing her hair and you see her up there as you're nearing her, all the while hearing her agony,
misery.
Whoa,
Though
though
it's different for each, always 10 steps behind,
always 10 feet below, and
and
she's
she's
just out of reach.
Agony that can
That
cut like a
like
knife.
knife.
I must have her to wife.
Pull back to reveal the princes side by side on a precipice, overlooking the distant castle. Exterior Rapunzel's tower, night. The baker's wife fights her way through a thicket. Her clothes are now ratty, her face scratched, but she approaches the tower with trepidation.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let your hair down to me.
The window at the top of the tower opens, and Rapunzel sticks out her head, looking downward. The wife hides to the side. Is that you at this hour, my prince?
Yes.
Rapunzel thinks about it for a moment, then lowers her hair. The wife approaches it gingerly.
Excuse me for this.
She takes a fistful of hair and gives it a pull. Nothing. She tries once again, this time with more force, eliciting a little yelp from Rapunzel. Finally, she holds on to the hair and just starts running away from the tower as fast as she can. We hear Rapunzel yell as the wife succeeds in pulling some of the hair from her head. Ah! Exterior pathway to the castle, night, continuous. Cinderella flees the castle.
As the baker's wife bolted from the tower, the second night of the festival was thrown into chaos when Cinderella once again ran from the prince.
While the baker's wife continues to run away from Rapunzel's tower, in the distance she sees a flutter of gold moving through the moonlit trees. Cinderella? She changes course in pursuit. Series of shots with music. Close up on Cinderella's shoes as they make their way through wooded path. Angle on the wife as she races toward them in pursuit. The wife catches up with Cinderella and tackles her to the ground, Cinderella's slipper falling off. They both dive for the slipper when an approaching noise catches the wife's attention.
Over here.
Close up on the shoe as Cinderella snatches it from the ground, Cinderella rushes off. The wife stares frozen in horror as the prince's horse races towards her. She lets out a scream and the horse stops short, rearing up. The steward's horse charges off the path into thickets.
Who is she? Where did she go?
I have no idea, sir.
Don't play the fool, woman.
I was trying to hold her here for you.
I can capture my own damsel, thank you.
Yes, of course.
The steward returns, covered in burrs and looking none too happy.
No sign of her, my liege.
Well, what are you waiting for? See if you can find her.
The steward rides off. The prince pauses, the ultimate seducer. He gives the wife a once-over.
The woods can be a dangerous place.
She nods to him, out of her depth. He gallops off. Exterior woods, tall trees, night. The baker searches for Milky White along a large pathway, disheveled and exhausted.
Moo! Moo!
He hears sounds off in the distance. Baker's POV. The Step family's carriage is passing through a large hollowed opening in the base of a huge tree. We can hear the stepsisters bickering, their blonde hair bobbing animatedly. Another angle. The baker stands in the middle of the pathway, flagging down the carriage. He pulls an ear of corn from his satchel. As the carriage slows, he hops on the sideboard.
Please, if you'd be so kind, may I compare this ear of corn with your hair?
The stepsisters scream.
Don't touch us!
Get away! How
Dare you!
Mongrel! Carry on.
She pushes the baker off the carriage and he somersaults backwards into the brush. The carriage speeds off. Deflated, the baker picks himself off the path and sits on what he thinks is a white rock. There's a muffled "meow." He jumps up, realizing he's been sitting on the cow.
Milky White.
He hears something and hides behind a bush. Then, seeing it is his wife, he steps out.
I thought you were returning home.
The wife screams in fright. Then she recognizes him.
Oh, it's you. And you've the cow.
She runs to Milky White.
Yes, I have the cow. We have 2 of the 4.
3.
2.
3.
She shows him the braid of hair around her neck.
Compare this to your corn.
He does, and it's a perfect match.
Where did you find it?
I pulled it from a maiden in a tower.
3.
And I almost had the 4th, but she got away.
We've 1 entire day left. Surely we can locate the slipper by then.
We? You mean you're gonna let me stay with you?
Well, perhaps it will take the 2 of us to have this child.
You've changed. You're daring. You're different in the woods. More sure, more sharing. You're getting us through the woods. If you could see, you're not the man who started, and much more open-hearted than I knew you to be.
It takes 2. I thought 1 was enough. It's not true. It takes 2 of us. You came through. When the journey was rough, it took you. It took 2 of us. It takes care. It takes patience and fear and despair to change. Though you swear to change, who can tell if you do? It takes 2.
He flirts with her. She pulls away, teasing him.
You changed, you're thriving. There's something about the woods, not just surviving. You're blossoming in the woods. At home, I'd fear we'd stay the same forever. And then out here, you're passionate, charming, considerate, clever.
Takes one to begin, but then once you've begun, it takes two of you. It's no fun. But what needs to be done, you can do when there's two of you. If I dare, it's because I'm becoming aware of us as a pair of us, each accepting a share of what's there.
They move towards each other through the trees playfully.
We've changed, we're strangers. I'm meeting you in the woods. Who minds what dangers? I know we'll get past the woods. And once we're past, let's hope the changes last.
Beyond
Beyond
woods,
woods,
beyond
beyond
witches, and slippers and hoods. Just the two
two
of us. Beyond
beyond
lies,
lies, safe at home with our beautiful prize.
prize. Just the few of us. It
Takes
takes trust.
trust,
It
it
takes
takes
just
just
a bit
bit
more,
more and we're done.
They sit down next to each other at the top of a small hill and slide down to the bottom together.
We want four,
We had
we had
none.
none.
We've
We've got three, we need one. It takes two.
It takes two.
They kiss, but their moment of romance is interrupted when a large golden egg rolls down the hill between them. The wife screams.
Look at that weird egg.
Who's got the egg?
Stop it! Stop my egg!
The baker stops the egg and picks it up. Jack stumbles down the hill.
Oh, brilliant! My Milky White, the owners, and my egg.
Did you get this?
From the giant's hen.
The baker's wife examines the egg.
Golden egg. I've never seen a golden egg.
And you can have it, along with 5 gold pieces.
5 gold pieces.
Now I'm taking my cow.
Jack moves to Milky White. The distant chimes of midnight begin to ring out from the castle.
Now, I never said I would sell.
But you took the 5 gold pieces.
You took 5 gold pieces.
I didn't take, you gave.
Where are the 5 gold pieces?
I have my cow.
Now, I never said you could. I said you might.
You take money before a child?
No, it's not how it sounds.
Milky White is dead.
Milky White has begun to shake like a dashboard ornament. She moans, then topples over with a loud thud. Alarmed, Jack runs to the cow and lays his head on the animal's chest.
Milky White is dead.
The baker looks up and sees that the shadow has now moved a third of the way across the moon. We hear the witch scream.
2 midnights gone!
Exterior Rapunzel's tower, daybreak. Hidden by a broken piece of wall, someone or something is watching the Rapunzel's prince climbing out of the window.
When dawn broke, the baker and his wife had but one day left to reverse the witch's curse. As for Rapunzel's prince, he returned yet again to the Forbidden Tower.
With Rapunzel smiling down, Rapunzel's prince descends her hair. Once he has reached the bottom, he pulls her hair back in and closes the window. Another angle. We discover that it's the witch who has been watching. She is not happy. The prince mounts his horse and rides off towards a low rose thicket, an easy jump. With a thrust of her stick, the witch makes the thicket shoot up before the prince has time to act. His horse stops short and he screams as he is thrown over the horse's head into the thicket. Angle on the witch. She smiles at her handiwork, then turns to stare at the top of the tower vindictively. Interior Rapunzel's tower, day. The witch threatens Rapunzel.
What did I clearly say? Children must listen.
No, please.
What were you not to do? Children must see
No.
and learn. Why could you not obey? Children should listen. What have I been to you? What would you have me be? Handsome like a prince. Ah, but I am old, I am ugly, I embarrass you.
No.
You are ashamed of me.
No.
You are ashamed. You don't understand.
I am no longer a child. I wish to see the world.
Don't you know what's out there in the world? Someone has to shield you from the world. Stay with me. Princes wait there in the world, it's true. Princes, yes, but wolves and humans too. Stay at home. I am home. Who out there could love you more than I? What out there can I not supply? Stay with me. Stay with me. The world is dark and wild. Stay a child while you can be a child with me. I gave you protection and yet you disobey me.
No.
Your prince will never lay eyes on you again. He will never lay eyes on anything again.
What did you do to him?
It does not matter because where you're going, no one will ever see you again.
The witch lunges at Rapunzel with a pair of shears and begins to hack off her hair. The girl lets out a mighty shriek. Exterior, near Granny's house, Elephant Oaks, day. Jack makes his way despondently through the oaks with his golden egg. He comes across what looks like a wolf hunched over on the edge of the brush. He stops, then slowly approaches.
Hey there, nice cape.
The figure twists around, pulling a knife. Stay away from my cape, or I'll slash you into 1,000 bits. The figure is revealed to be Little Red Riding Hood, in a wolfskin cape, picking mushrooms for her granny.
Whoa, I don't want it. I was just admiring it. Where'd you get it?
My granny made it for me from a wolf that attacked us, and she gave me this beautiful knife for protection.
Well, look what I have. This is my cow Milky White, and this is a hen that lays golden eggs.
He shows her his golden egg.
Or just a golden egg.
Where did you get that egg?
I stole a hen that lays golden eggs from the kingdom of the giant up there.
I don't believe you.
It's true, and you should see the giant's toy harp. It plays the most beautiful tunes without your even having to touch it.
Of course it does. Why don't you go up to the kingdom right now and bring it back and show me?
I could.
You could not.
I could too.
You could not, Mr. Liar.
I'm not a liar. I'll get that harp. You'll see.
He runs off. Exterior Beanstalk and Jack's farmhouse, afternoon. To frantic music, Jack is making his way down to the bottom of the beanstalk with all the speed he can muster. This is made more difficult by the golden harp which he has slung over his shoulder.
Jack took the little girl's dare, and before he knew it, found himself fleeing from a giant.
Suddenly, the beanstalk shakes mightily, making Jack hold on for dear life. He looks up to discover the giant climbing down after him. Jack feverishly picks up speed and jumps the last 6 feet to the ground. He quickly drops the harp and runs to a large axe embedded in the stump of a tree. Jack swings the axe, striking the beanstalk. Exterior woods, pine forest. The swing of the axe is picked up by the baker, snapping a branch that's in the way. The baker and his wife trudging through the woods.
We've only one day left. I don't know where to start.
You can start by buying a new cow with the money you took from the boy.
Right. Where do I buy a cow?
You go to the next village, you'll find a cow there.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to get the slipper.
Yellow slipper?
The golden slipper.
Yes, the golden slipper. That's what I meant. How are you going to get it?
I have met a maiden with golden slippers these 2 previous nights.
You think you could get one?
Yes, I'm sure of it. I'll meet you back here.
Right. Why are we always separating?
Because we have to if we're going to be together.
The baker and his wife start to go off in opposite directions when there is a tremendous crash with the force of an earthquake. The baker and his wife are knocked off their feet and tumble into a bank of ferns. They scramble to their feet and look to one another.
What is happening?
Exterior Jack's farmhouse. The giant lies still on the ground.
The entire kingdom shook when the beanstalk came crashing down, killing the giant.
Exterior King's Castle Palace steps. Night. The moon is now half covered by shadow. Drop down to find Cinderella running down the steps. Commotion ensues as she is followed by the prince and his retinue.
As for Cinderella, she fled from the prince. Again.
Another angle. Suddenly, when Cinderella is mid-flight on the steps, she falters, unable to move. She looks down to see that there is tar on this step and her shoes are stuck. Angle on the prince, smiling as he sees he has finally trapped his prey. We freeze the action as Cinderella considers the situation.
He's a very smart prince. He's a prince who prepares. Knowing this time I'd run from him, he spread pitch on the stairs, and I'm caught unawares. Well, it means that he cares. This is more than just malice. Better stop and take stock while you're standing here stuck on the steps of the palace. All right, what do you want? You have to make a decision. Why not stay and be caught? Should I give that a thought? What would be his response?
He turns around to see the prince frozen in time and staring at her.
But then what if he knew who I was when I know that I'm not that I think that he wants? Or though, what if I am what a prince would envision? But then how do you know who you are till you know what you want, which I don't? So then which do you pick? Where you're safe out of sight in yourself, but where everything's wrong? Or where everything's right, but you know that you'll never belong? And whichever you pick, do it quick, 'cause you're starting to stick to the steps of the palace. It's my first big decision. The choice isn't easy to make. To arrive at a ball is exciting and all once you're there, though it's scary. And it's fun to deceive when you know you can leave, but you have to be wary. There's a lot that's at stake, but I've stalled long enough 'cause I'm still standing stuck on the staff on the steps. Better run along home and avoid the collision. Though at home they don't care, I'll be better off there where there's nothing to choose, so there's nothing to lose. So I pry up my shoes.
Cinderella lifts her feet out of the shoes and moves to a step with no tar. She pulls one shoe from the tar, and as she goes to pry the second shoe, she stops.
Wait, though, thinking it through, things don't have to collide. I know what my decision is, which is not to decide. I'll just give him a clue. For example, a shoe. And I'll see what he'll do. Now it's he and not you who'll be stuck with a shoe in the stew, in the goo. And I've learned something too, something you never knew, on the steps of the palace.
Coming out of the freeze, she quickly leaves one shoe and slips on the other, then dashes off out of sight. The prince picks up the golden shoe from the tar and holds it up triumphantly. He addresses his steward and retinue.
The ball is over. Send everyone home.
And the princess?
She won't get far with one shoe.
Exterior woods, pathway to the castle, night. Close up on Cinderella's feet, awkwardly running with one shoe on, one shoe off. Another angle. She hears someone close on her trail and looks back to see the wide-eyed wife in pursuit.
Don't come any closer to me.
Please stop. Just hear me out.
You have attacked me once before.
I didn't attack you. I attacked your shoe. I need it. I have a magic bean in exchange for it.
Breathless, Cinderella stops, stands defensively. The wife pulls out the bean from her pocket and hands it to her.
Magic bean? Nonsense.
Cinderella tosses it over her shoulder, but they don't see the sparks it sets off when it hits the ground and sinks into the earth. She starts to leave.
Wait, please. I haven't much time. I need that shoe to have a child.
That doesn't make sense.
Does it make sense that you're running from a prince?
The steward approaches on horseback.
Stop! You there, stop!
I must go.
Take my shoes, you'll run faster.
Here.
Cinderella hands the wife her golden slipper.
Thank you! Thank you!
Cinderella dashes off on the wife and steward.
Stop! What is that you have in your hand?
The wife hides the slipper behind her back. The steward dismounts.
It's fine.
Lying will cost you your life.
The steward snatches the shoe. The wife pushes the steward and grabs the slipper back.
I don't care if it costs me my life.
You will pay for this.
Cinderella's prince rides in with the other slipper, followed by his retinue. The steward takes the opportunity to pull the slipper from the wife's hand as she curtsies.
Sire, I have succeeded in obtaining the other slipper.
He holds it up. The wife steps forward.
Please give me the slipper, kind prince, and all will come to a happy end.
Step back.
Do as she says, Steward. We only need one.
Oh.
He hands the slipper back to the wife. The steward gets onto his horse.
Thank you. Thank you.
We must search immediately for the maiden who fits this slipper
Right?
this very night.
The prince, steward, and retinue ride off, leaving the wife alone. She looks up to the moon and hurries off. We follow the wife's feet as she scurries past the beginnings of a beanstalk curling upwards from the ground.
And in her haste, the baker's wife took no notice of a second beanstalk climbing skyward.
Exterior village, night. Trumpets sound. Cinderella's prince, the steward, and the retinue ride through the town as villagers open their windows and rush out of their houses.
Let it be known that that His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, will be visiting every house in this village tonight.
Interior Cinderella's house, kitchen, night. Cinderella has only just got back. Grubby again and wearing her old clothes, she bundles her beautiful dress into a chest.
All you maidens are hereby commanded to remain in their home until they are visited by the royal guard.
Cinderella goes to the window and looks out. Cinderella's house, night. Cinderella's POV. Cinderella's prince and the royal retinue arrive in the entry courtyard. Back on Cinderella, she smiles to herself. Interior Cinderella's house, kitchen, night. The entire step family has assembled, in various stages of undress. Lucinda stands and watches as the stepmother tries to force Florinda's large foot into the tiny slipper.
As the prince anxiously waited, the stepmother took matters and Florinda's foot into her own hands.
Careful, my toe.
Darling, I know
What'll we do?
it'll have to go, but when you're his bride, you can sit or ride. You'll never need to walk.
The stepmother takes a handkerchief and stuffs it into the girl's mouth, and then pulls a large kitchen knife from her pocket and raises it over her foot. Standing lanterns have been set up outside the house, bathing the area in light. The step family watches as the steward helps Florinda up onto the back of the prince's horse. In pain, she grits her teeth in a frozen smile.
Minus one toe, Florinda mounted the prince's horse, unaware of the blood dripping from the slipper.
As the steward steps back, he notices a tiny speck of blood on his white glove. He looks up to the prince to show him his hand. The prince looks back to Florinda, who shrugs sheepishly. Interior Cinderella's house, kitchen. This time, the stepmother tries to force Lucinda's foot into the slipper. Florinda looks on with a smirk.
Lucinda was next.
Why won't it fit?
Darling, be still, cut off a bit of the heel and will, and when you're his wife, you'll have such a life, you'll never need to walk.
Quick shots. Florinda's hand over Lucinda's mouth. The knife raised up by the mother. Lucinda's eyes in fear as we hear a muffled scream and the whoosh of a knife. Exterior Cinderella's house. The prince and steward wait impatiently in the torchlight.
Minus a heel, Lucinda did her best to swallow the pain.
At last, Lucinda appears, masking her pain with a smile, and limps towards the prince. She is followed by her mother and sister.
It's a perfect fit, Your Highness.
Lucinda winks at the prince flirtatiously, then promptly faints to the ground with a thud. The shoe falls from her foot. The prince nods to the steward, who walks over and gingerly picks up the bloody slipper.
Have you no other daughters?
Only a little stunted kitchen wench with her late father left behind, but she cannot present herself. She is too dirty.
Out of the shadows, Cinderella appears. The steward hands the slipper to the prince, who kneels down in front of Cinderella and easily slips it on her foot.
I'd recognize these beautiful eyes anywhere. This is the true bride.
The prince sweeps Cinderella off her feet and leads her to his horse. The two of them ride off. Florinda and Lucinda watch, not at all happy. Then they hear a cawing sound of birds overhead. They look up, alarmed. Birds' point of view. Far below, Florinda and Lucinda cower together, dreading what is to come as the camera rushes towards them.
As punishment for their cruelty, Cinderella's birds swooped down upon the stepsisters and blinded them?
The birds enter the picture frame more and more, their cawing rising to a crescendo until their flapping wings are all we see. Exterior marshland night. Rapunzel is alone in a mossy bower on an isolated island. In the middle of a swamp, waters filled with poisonous snakes. She hums a sad refrain.
As for Rapunzel, the witch had banished her to a swamp in the darkest depths of the forest.
Another angle. Rapunzel's prince, with a ragged scarf wrapped around his now blinded eyes, sits slumped over his horse as the animal navigates its way through the marshy expanse. Rapunzel's prince lifts his head as he hears Rapunzel singing. Could it be? The horse, seemingly knowing the way, follows the sound as Rapunzel's prince calls her name.
Rapunzel.
Angle on Rapunzel. She looks up and cries with delight when she sees her prince across the water. My darling! She jumps into the swamp, fearlessly ignoring the snakes until she reaches terra firma and her man. Rapunzel's prince falls from his horse onto the ground.
Rapunzel, is it you?
Rapunzel reaches him and rips off his scarf. She kneels to cradle his face, weeping. How could she do this to you? Extreme close-up. Rapunzel's tear falls into Rapunzel's prince's blind eye. The prince's vision is restored.
Rapunzel!
What?
I can see you!
The two of them embrace. At the same time, we hear mooing. Exterior woods, tall trees. The baker is pulling a very obstinate white cow through the woods. He looks up at the moon, which is almost completely covered in shadow.
Come on, we don't have any time.
Then the wife rushes in from another direction, carrying the slipper.
Found you. You got the cow.
I got the slipper.
We've got all four.
They hug with delight, but are quickly startled by the witch who appears in the hollow of a tree.
I see a cow. I see a slipper.
And the cape is red as blood.
And the hair is yellow as corn.
We've done it.
We've got them all.
But suddenly the witch is suspicious.
Wait a minute. That cow doesn't look as white as milk to me.
Of course she is.
A desperate glance at the baker. He couldn't have screwed this up. Could he?
She has to be.
The witch walks over and smacks the animal. Flour puffs off its back.
This cow has been covered with flour.
What? You didn't get a real white cow?
The baker turns to the witch.
We had a cow as white as milk. Honestly, we did.
Then where is she?
She's dead.
And we thought you'd prefer a live cow.
Of course I'd prefer a live cow, so show me the dead cow and I'll bring her back to life.
Exterior woods, cow's grave. Jack's mother is madly hurrying through the woods, searching for Jack. She hears harp music, and that carries her to Jack, sitting with his harp next to the mound where Milky White has been covered with leaves.
Jack, there you are. I've been worried sick about you. There is a dead giant in our backyard.
There is.
You know there is. You could have been crushed.
But Mother, look, the most beautiful harp.
Oh, you've stolen too much.
She cuffs the back of his head, then hugs him.
You could have been killed coming down that plant.
The witch, the baker, and the wife hurry towards the leafy mound.
We're running out of time.
It's here.
What's happening?
She's going to bring Milky White back to life.
She can do that?
She's a witch. She can do anything.
Wow.
Stand back.
They quickly move away, and the witch invokes some unintelligible incantation. and with a wave of her cape, the dead cow comes back to life, shaking off the leaves. Jack races over to her.
Milky Way, you're back! I missed you so much.
The baker looks up at the moon, only a sliver left, the rest covered by shadow.
It's almost midnight.
Quiet. Feed the objects to the cow.
What?
You heard me. Feed the objects to the cow.
The wife and baker walk towards the cow and begin feeding it a portion of the ingredients. Not an easy chew for the animal. The witch hands them a silver chalice.
Fill this. Fill this, Jack.
She'll only milk for me.
Jack begins milking the cow, the others watching intently, but alas, nothing is coming out.
Squeeze, pal, you can do it.
He tries harder, to no avail. The witch goes over and looks into the goblet. Nothing.
Wrong ingredients. Forget about a child.
Wait, we followed your instructions. 1, the cow is white as milk, correct?
Yes.
And 2, the cape was certainly red as blood.
Yes.
And 3, the slipper.
Yes.
And 4, I compared the hair with this ear of corn.
I pulled it from a maiden in a tower and
You what? What were you doing there?
well, nothing. I happened to be passing by
I
and
touched that hair. I told you I cannot have touched the ingredients.
No.
The corn! The corn!
What?
Jack grabs the ear of corn out of the baker's hand.
You can use the silky ear of corn.
Yes, pull it from the ear and feed it to the cow, quickly.
The baker grabs the ear of corn from Jack, pulls the hair from the corn, and feeds it to the cow. Jack begins milking the cow again. We hear the distant chimes of midnight begin. Light pours from above, bathing them in a growing haze of blue light as the shadow finally eclipses the moon. The cow lets out a blood-curdling moan.
it's working.
She's milking!
At last.
The witch grabs the chalice. The witch drinks the potion. She begins to shake. Blue smoke begins to pour from her and swirl about as if she is trapped inside a cloud. The wife lets out a shriek. The baker looks at his wife. Her belly begins to grow to 9 months full of pregnancy.
Oh,
That was quick.
The cloud that had surrounded the witch now engulfs the area until a brisk wind blows it away, revealing a beautiful woman standing in the blue light of the full moon. The witch has been restored to her former self, and she likes what she sees. The final chime of midnight is joined by every other bell in the kingdom, a joyous cacophony as we cut to Road to King's Castle, a new day. Golden rose petals fill the air, swirling across the stream. Pulling back, we see that the petals are being thrown by cheering subjects who toss more into the air as they clamor to catch a glimpse of Cinderella and her prince on their wedding day. Music. Cinderella's carriage resplendent in gold, drawn by black stallions, passes. She sits demurely, smiling as her prince plays to the passerby. This comes easily to him.
And it came to pass. All that seemed wrong was now right. The witch succeeded in reversing her mother's curse. Cinderella finally stopped running from her prince.
Cinderella's POV on the crowd. She sees Jack and his mother waving. Jack's mother is overdressed in brand new clothes, including a ridiculous fascinator hat.
Jack was reunited with his beloved cow, and his mother could now dress in the best a golden egg could buy.
Cinderella now sees the baker and his wife standing amongst the crowd, the wife holding their new baby boy.
The baker and his wife were proud parents of a strapping baby boy.
The wife shows her the baby.
thanks for the slipper.
The carriage arrives at the entrance to the castle. As the prince and Cinderella step from their carriage, they are met by cheers. The step family awaits the married couple. The beaming stepmother with her daughters, who are now wearing dark glasses, holding canes and looking rather glum. Rapunzel stands with her prince. The crowd roars as Cinderella and her prince wave. The steward takes up a large speaking trumpet and the crowd quiets.
Let us cheer on the newlyweds as they embark on their happy bliss today, and even after they bliss
And
on their
so,
newly.
with the kingdom filled with joy, those who deserved to were destined to live happily ever after.
Suddenly, the earth shakes with a mighty force, tossing Cinderella and her prince, mid-kiss, along with their attendants and the entire crowd to the ground. A piece of the castle comes crashing down. Chaos ensues. Jack's mother stands up and looks around. No sign of Jack.
Jack! Jack!
Angle on the baker and his wife.
Are you all right?
I think so.
And the baby?
Yes, he's fine.
There is another aftershock. Angle on Rapunzel. She is spooked by the commotion and runs off through the crowd and disappears.
Attention, attention, let there be no panic, no panic. The royal prince wishes to address his loyal subjects. Attention.
Rapunzel's prince searches the crowd for Rapunzel. Those who haven't fled quiet and gather around. Cinderella's prince takes the horn.
There's no need to worry. It was an earthquake in a far-off quadrant of our kingdom. Nothing to fear at all. As many of you know, we had another little shaker just days ago. I will personally investigate the disturbance. Now everyone, back to your villages and on with your lives.
Exterior Kingdom Day. A dense mist settles across the kingdom. In the distance, a beanstalk stretches up to the sky. Cinderella's prince and his retinue gallop away from the destroyed castle into the woods.
But as they made their way back into the woods, their familiar paths were nowhere to be found. Their lives were about to take an unexpected turn.
Exterior woods, flowered path. The baker and his wife are walking down a path, or the remnants of a path.
What's happened? Everything's so different.
They discover Little Red Riding Hood sitting on her suitcase in what was once a lush area, now trampled and broken.
Little one, are you all right? What are you doing here with this suitcase?
I'm moving in with Granny. Our whole village collapsed. I couldn't find my mother anywhere. And now I can't find my Granny's cottage.
What do you mean?
I went down the dell, and I didn't recognize anything. There was no path. Where's the stream? Where's the bridge? Where's Granny?
Calm down.
We can help you find Granny's without the path.
Yes.
The wife is exhausted. She hands the baby to the baker.
Please take him for a few moments.
The baker is clearly uncomfortable holding the baby. They continue walking. The baby begins to cry.
Why does he always cry when I hold him?
You needn't hold him as if he were so fragile.
The baby wails. The baker hands the bundle back.
He doesn't want me. He wants his mother.
I can't take care of him all the time.
I'll take care of him when he's older.
They hear commotion in the distance.
Who might that be?
It's the steward in the royal family.
Exterior woods, tall trees. Through a thick haze, the baker sees the steward, the step family, and a few servants carrying trunks and tending to the blind, hobbling stepsisters. The baker makes his way to them with his wife and Little Red Riding Hood in tow.
What brings you into the woods?
The castle has been destroyed.
No.
The kingdom is under attack.
What is the royal family going to do?
I have no idea. I don't make the policy. I just carry it out.
I think it best we get back to the village. We'll take the girl with us.
He holds out a hand for Little Red Riding Hood.
You come with us.
Little Red Riding Hood takes her hand. But then the ground begins to shake. A frightening and increasingly loud crunching noise. They fight for their footing. The step family drop their belongings and rush to each other. The baker puts his arm around his wife. Everyone's faces fill with terror as a huge shadow engulfs them.
It's a giant.
A giant woman.
Through the trees, we see the furious face of a female giant. We never see her in her entirety, but the volume of her voice matches her size.
Why? What is the lad who killed my husband? There is no lad here.
We haven't seen him.
The witch, who has slipped in behind the group, comes forward, startling everyone, and moves directly to the giant.
We'll get him for you right away. Don't move.
Little Red Riding Hood races past the witch and brandishes her knife. It was you who destroyed our house, not an earthquake!
And who destroyed my house? I want him.
A great bellow that makes the trees shake. The witch moves towards the stepsisters.
Would you like a blind girl instead?
Florinda and Lucinda scream. The stepmother takes them in her embrace.
How dare you? She wants the boy.
And then Jack's mother arrives. Innocently, she asks the worst question possible.
Jack, oh, Has anyone seen my Jack? He ran off and I've been...
Everyone stares at her. Jack's mother does a slow take, looking up and discovering the giant.
She's looking for him too. Give him to me.
The giant suddenly reaches down. They all quickly duck out of the way. Jack's mother runs forward to confront the giant.
Jack is just a lad. We had no food to eat, so he sold his beloved cow in exchange for magic beans.
The boy. I want the boy.
Leave my boy alone.
You're making me very angry.
The giant stomps her foot in anger.
Oh, I'm waiting.
They all lose their balance. The steward uses his staff to hold Jack's mother back, trying to silence her.
Oh, don't make her angry, woman, or you'll get us all killed.
But Jack's mother is in full flow, facing up to the giant.
Flouncing through our kingdom with your great big clodhoppers, destroying everything in your path.
Ooh, stop.
Don't upset the giant.
You big bully. I'll hide my son and you'll never find him. You'll never, ever.
Get back, woman.
The steward forcefully pulls Jack's mother behind him. She trips and falls.
The boy is hiding in the steeple tower. You can find him there.
Yes, that's true.
Yes, the steeple tower.
We saw him there. If he is not, I will return tonight and find you, all of you.
The giant takes off, the power of her footsteps forcing everyone to hold on to one another for safety. The baker's wife sees Jack's mother, who is still lying on the ground. She goes to her.
Look, what have you done to her?
I didn't mean to hurt her. I was just thinking of the greater good.
The baker steps forward, taking charge.
We're going to get through this. We have to stick together.
Some people are cut out to battle giants, and others are not. I don't have the constitution, and as long as I can be of no help, I'm going to hide. Let's go. Everything will work out fine in the end.
Not always.
The Step family leaves.
I don't know where they think they're going. The giants already destroyed the entire village. Only thing left of my garden are these beans.
What are we going to do now?
We have no choice. Find the boy and give her what she wants.
But if we do, she'll kill Jack.
And if we don't, she'll kill half the kingdom.
She rushes back into the woods. Jack's mother stirs and sits up.
Promise me you won't let them get Jack. Promise.
Okay, I promise.
Exterior woods, Rapunzel's tower, day. We follow the witch as she makes her way in search of Rapunzel. She comes to their tower, now fallen. Sitting upon a pile of rubble, a bereft Rapunzel clutches her cape as she cries.
Rapunzel, you're safe, thank goodness.
Who are you?
Surely you remember? Of course you don't recognize me.
Mother?
This is who I truly am, my dear. Now you don't have to be embarrassed by me. You must come with me. There's a giant in the land.
She moves towards Rapunzel. But suddenly Rapunzel's prince rides up on his white steed. He jumps off and rushes to Rapunzel.
That's quite a rush.
Are you all right? Why did you run off?
I was afraid.
You never have to be afraid. Now come with me.
She's not going with you. You will come with me.
Rapunzel pulls away and turns on the witch. I will not come with you.
Then you leave me no choice.
The witch pulls Rapunzel behind her and tries to cast a spell on Rapunzel's prince. Nothing. She tries again. Still nothing. The prince takes notice of the witch.
You, the one who blinded me.
And locked me in a tower.
To protect you.
And then banished me to an island in the middle of a swamp.
I was just trying to be a good mother.
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel takes one look at her mother, then moves to the prince.
Rapunzel, no. You will never be safe with him.
Take me away from here. Rapunzel's prince pulls Rapunzel up onto his horse.
No, Rapunzel.
Don't you understand? I never want to see you again. Ever. Angle on the witch, watching Rapunzel ride into the woods.
No matter what you say, Children won't listen. No matter what you know, children refuse to learn. Guide them along the way, still they don't listen. Children can only grow from something you love to something you lose.
Exterior woods, tall trees, dusk. At first, we just see trees.
Jack!
Jack! Then the baker's wife, and Little Red Riding Hood appear. Still looking for Jack, they come to a halt.
We're never gonna find him.
We should fan out. It'll increase our chances.
No, you can't be on your own.
I'll be all right.
What if we get lost?
We'll count our steps from right here.
I'll go too.
No, you stay with the baby.
The wife hands Little Red Riding Hood the baby and sits her down.
You would leave our son with her?
Yes, he's asleep. He'll be safe with the girl.
I am very capable of caring for the baby.
See?
What if the giant comes back?
What if? 500 paces, go.
The wife turns and starts walking.
1, 2.
The baker stops her. He unties his scarf.
Wait, take this. It might be cold.
The baker wraps his scarf around her neck and looks at her, reluctant to let her go alone. The wife turns away and begins to count her steps as she walks off. The baker goes off in the opposite direction.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Exterior woods, root hollow, dusk. The prince is watering his horse in a giant footprint. The wife enters counting.
181, 182, 183, 184. Hello, Your Royal Highness.
Hello.
You must be here to slay the giant.
The giant?
Yes. Surely you've heard there's a giant in our midst. Not an earthquake.
Oh, of course. A giant.
Yes, it's a lady giant. Unusual, huh?
Yeah, I should think. Why are you alone in the woods?
I came with my husband. Well, you see, it's a long story.
He would let you roam alone in the woods?
No, actually, it was my choice.
How brave.
Brave?
Yes. Anything can happen in the woods. May I kiss you? Any moment we could be crushed. Don't feel rushed.
He kisses her. She succumbs for a moment, then pulls away.
This is ridiculous. What am I doing here? I'm in the wrong story.
He goes in for another kiss, and she pulls away once more.
Wait, one moment, please. We can't do this. You have a princess.
Well, yes, I do.
And I have a baker.
Of course. You're right. How foolish. Foolishness can happen in the woods. Once again, please. Let your hesitations be hushed. Any moment, big or small, is a moment after all. Seize the moment, skies may fall. Any moment.
He kisses her again.
But this is not right.
Right and wrong don't matter in the woods. Only feelings. Let us meet the moment unblushed. Life is often so unpleasant. You must know that as a peasant. Best to take the moment present as a present for the moment.
As the prince takes her into his arms, we pan up to see Cinderella's birds in the branches looking down at them. Exterior woods, Cinderella's mother's grave. We track with the baker before he comes upon Cinderella crying at what's left of her mother's gravestone and tree.
482, 43. Excuse me, ma'am, have you seen a boy? I'm sorry, may I be of some service?
She looks to the baker and immediately turns her head for fear she will be recognized.
The tree has fallen, mother's grave destroyed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I shouldn't complain. I'm sure others have suffered worse after an earthquake.
Earthquake? It's no earthquake. There's a giant terrorizing the kingdom.
Well, I'm sure the prince will see to it that the giant is rid from our land.
A prince. No doubt he's off somewhere seducing some young maiden.
What?
You look just like the princess, but dirty. Oh no, you are the princess.
He drops to his knees and bows.
Please, please get up. I'm not the princess here.
I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you.
I had to disguise myself. I'm not permitted to leave the palace unescorted.
Cinderella looks away towards the wreckage of her mother's grave.
If you'd like, you can come with me. You'll be safe in our company.
Cinderella thinks for a moment, then nods.
Thank you.
This way.
Exterior woods root hollow. Cinderella's prince is wrapped in an embrace with the wife. He suddenly breaks away.
I must leave you now.
She looks at him confused. He walks over to his horse and mounts it.
Now I must go off to slay a giant. I shall not forget about you. How brave you are to be alone in the wood. How alive you have made me feel.
And just like that, he rides off, leaving a cloud of dust in his wake.
What was that? Was that me? Was that him? Did a prince really kiss me? And kiss me? And kiss me? And did I kiss him back? Was it wrong? Am I mad? Is that all? Does he miss me? Was he suddenly getting bored with me? Wake up, stop dreaming, stop prancing about the woods. It's not beseeming. What is it about the woods? Back to life, back to sense, back to child, back to husband. No one lives in the woods. Our vows, there are ties, there are needs, there are standards, there are shouldn'ts and shoulds. Why not both instead? There's an answer if you're clever. Have a child for warmth and a baker for bread and a prince for whatever. Never. It's these woods.
She begins retracing her steps.
Face the facts, find the boy, join the group, stop the giant, just get out of these woods. Was that him? Yes, it was. Was that me? No, it wasn't. Just a trick of the woods. Just a moment. One peculiar passing moment. Must it all be either less or more, either plain or grand? Is it always or is it never? And that's what woods are for those moments in the woods.
She stops to catch her breath and make sure she's on the right path.
Oh, if life were made of moments, even now and then a bad one. But if life were only moments, then you never know you had one. First a wish, then a child, then a prince, then a moment who can live in the woods. And to get what you wished only just for a moment, these are dangerous woods. Let the moment go. Don't forget it for a moment, though.
The wife looks in the direction of where Cinderella's prince exited.
Just remembering that you've had and when you're back to or.
She looks down to the baker's scarf and pulls it from her waist.
Makes the or mean more than it did before. Now I understand, and it's time to leave the woods.
With newfound determination to return to her husband, she ties the scarf around her neck and begins to trace her steps back.
184, 183, 182.
She stops. An ominous expression crosses her face. We begin to hear the pounding steps of the giant moving closer. The wife scrambles up a steep incline, trying to find a way to get out of the giant's path. She makes it to the top, but realizes there is no way down on the other side. As the giant's footsteps near, the wife is engulfed in darkness. Trees begin to fall around her, and as the earth shakes, She loses her balance and falls backwards with a scream. Exterior woods, tall trees, night. The baker is pacing back and forth. Cinderella is tending to the baby. Little Red Riding Hood sits staring sadly into space.
She should be back by now.
She wouldn't get lost.
I'm sure she'll return.
No, I must go and look for her.
They hear a commotion. It's the witch, who has Jack by the scruff of the neck.
Look who I found.
You're hurting me.
The witch continues pulling the boy along.
Let go of him.
I'll let go of him when I give him to the giant.
Stop.
Leave him alone! Little Red Riding Hood goes to try and pull Jack away from the witch. A tussle ensues, and the baker notices that Jack has dropped something. He goes over and picks up his scarf.
Stop. I said stop.
They do. The baker moves to Jack.
Where did you find this?
The witch releases Jack.
I'm sorry, sir.
It's my wife's.
I'm sorry. I came upon her. She was at the bottom of a cliff.
What are you saying?
Jack can't say the words.
How awful.
No. This is my fault.
As the truth sinks in,
This is my fault. I let her wander off alone. I should have made her stay with me.
Remorse will get you nowhere.
My wife is dead.
Wake up! When you're dead, you're dead. Keep away from him.
Cinderella and Little Red Riding Hood block her way.
Keep away from him.
No!
This is no time to be soft-hearted. He's going to the giant, and I'm taking him.
The baker grabs hold of Jack.
Yes, he's the one to blame. It's because of you there's a giant in our midst and my wife is dead.
But it isn't my fault I was given those beans. You persuaded me to trade away my cow for beans, and without those beans, there'd have been no stock to get up to the giants in the first place.
This becomes one big game of tag, the group reconstituting itself as they gang up on whomever they think is the guilty party.
Wait a minute, magic beans for a cow so old that you had to tell a lie to sell it. You had to tell a lie to sell it, which you told were they worthless beans, were they oversold, and tell us who persuaded you to steal that gold.
See, it's your fault.
No,
Yes, it's your fault.
no,
Yes, it is.
it's not.
It's true.
Wait a minute, though I only stole the gold to get my cow back from you.
They turn on the baker. So it's your fault.
Yes.
No, it isn't. I'd have kept those beans, but our house was cursed. She made us get a cow to get the curse reversed.
They march over to the witch, who stands firm.
It's his father's fault that the curse got placed and the place got cursed in the first place.
Oh, then it's his fault.
So, it was his fault.
Oh,
Yes, it is. It's his.
I guess.
wait a minute, though I chopped the beanstalk right, that's clear, but without any beanstalk, then what's queer is how did the second giant get down here in the first place, second place?
Yes.
How?
Well, who had the other bean?
The other bean.
The other bean?
Who pocketed the other bean?
I didn't. Yes, I did.
So it's your fault.
No, it isn't because I gave it to my wife.
So it's her fault.
No, it isn't.
Then whose is it?
Wait a minute. She exchanged that bean to obtain your shoe, so the one who knows what happened to the bean is you.
Moving on Cinderella.
You mean that old bean that your wife... Oh dear, but I never knew and so I threw... Well, don't look here!
So it's your fault.
But...
Her fault.
But...
It isn't mine at all.
But what?
Well, if you hadn't gone back up again...
We were needy,
You were greedy. Did you need that hen?
but I got it from my mother.
So it's her fault then.
Yes, and what about the harp in the third place?
The harp? Yes.
They turn on Little Red Riding Hood.
She went to dare me to.
I dared you to?
You dared me to. You said that I was scared to. You dared me.
Me?
So it's your fault. You dared me to.
Wait a minute. Every man for himself, because there's enough blame to go around.
If you hadn't dared him
If you
to...
left the harp alone, we wouldn't be in trouble in the first place.
Well, if you hadn't thrown away the bean in the first place, it was your fault.
If you hadn't raised him in the first place...
It's you who raised the beans in the first place. It's your fault. You're responsible. You're the
They
one to
turn
blame.
on
Right, it's you who raised the beans in the first place.
first place.
It's your fault.
You're responsible. You're the
You're
one
the
to
one
blame.
to
It's
blame.
your
It's your
fault.
fault.
The witch turns on them. She is holding the baker's baby in her arms.
It's the last midnight. It's the last wish. It's the last midnight. Soon it will be boom, squish. Told a little lie. Stole a little gold. Broke a little vow. Did you? Had to get your prince. Had to get your cow. Had to get your wish, doesn't matter how. Anyway, it doesn't matter now.
She thrusts the baby into the baker's arms.
It's the last midnight. It's the boom splat. Nothing but a vast midnight. Everyone will be splashed flat. Nothing we can do. Not exactly true. We can always give her the boy.
She lunges for Jack, but Little Red Riding Hood and Cinderella put themselves in her path.
No, of course not. What really matters is the blame. Somebody to blame. Fine, if that's the thing you enjoy, placing the blame. If that's the aim, give me the blame. Just give me the boy.
No.
No. You're so nice. You're not good, you're not bad, you're just nice. I'm not good, I'm not nice, I'm just right. I'm the witch. You're the world. I'm the hitch, I'm what no one believes, I'm the witch. You're all liars and thieves like his father. Like his son will be too, oh why bother? You'll just do what you do, it's the last midnight. So goodbye, oh, coming at you fast, midnight. Soon you'll see the sky fall.
She pulls out some beans from her satchel and throws them to the ground where they flash upon impact. She knows that losing the beans will be her end. The others scramble to pick them up.
Here, you want a bean? Have another bean. Beans were here for making you rich. Plant them and they soar. Here, you want some more? Listen to the roar. Giants by the score. Or will you blame another witch? It's the last midnight. It's the last verse. Now before it's past midnight, I'm leaving you my last curse. I'm leaving you alone. You can tend the garden, it's yours, separate and alone. Everybody down on all fours. All right, mother, when? Lost the beans again. Punish me the way you did then. Give me claws and a hunch just away from this bunch and the gloom and the doom and the boom. Crunch!
The ground swells beneath her, lifting her upwards. Then suddenly the earth deflates into a sinkhole that sucks the witch to its core, swallowing her up as she lets out her final cry. The four back up and scatter for safety as a lava-like substance oozes from where the witch disappeared, creating a large tar pit. As the smoke lifts, the four come together, shaken. The baker holds the baby.
Maybe I shouldn't have stolen from the giant.
Maybe I shouldn't have strayed from the path.
Maybe I shouldn't have tended the ball.
Shouldn't have.
He hands Cinderella the baby and turns to leave.
Where are you going?
Away from here.
But you said we had to find our way out of this together.
It doesn't matter whether we're together or apart.
We need your help.
You don't understand. My wife was the one who helped. I depended on her for everything.
You would leave your child?
I'd be happier in the arms of a princess.
He begins to walk off.
But wait.
Exterior woods, dense verdure. The baker walks aimlessly through the woods alone.
Son?
What are you doing here?
The baker turns. His father, the father he remembers as a child, follows close behind. He wears the identical hunting jacket.
I want to talk to you. It's because of you all of this happened. Go away.
I'm sorry. I did a foolish thing.
Why did you do that? Why did you take the witch's beans?
They were there, and I wanted them. I didn't think I was being careless.
Selfish.
Yes.
You stole them. You were caught. And then you did what you do. You just ran away.
When your mother died, I hated myself, and I ran from my guilt and my shame.
And your son.
Yes, and my son. And I'm sorry for that.
If you're looking for forgiveness, you're not going to get it.
I never expected.
Then what do you want?
Aren't you making the same mistake?
The baker says nothing.
Aren't you running away? Be better than me, son. Do better.
The baker turns to look at his father, but he is gone. Was he ever there? The baker walks angrily along an overgrown path through the woods. He slows, sits down on a tree stump, and breaks down, his wife's scarf in his hands. Slowly, he calms himself. Exterior woods, tall trees. Jack and Little Red Riding Hood are making a plan. Cinderella has the baby. Jack?
Sorry. If there were just some way we could surprise the giant.
She's too tall to surprise. They look up as a newly determined baker returns.
I knew you wouldn't give up.
He wouldn't leave his baby.
It looked like he was going to.
Give me my son.
The baker takes the baby.
boy.
The baby begins to cry.
Hey.
What are we going to do now?
We need to rid this kingdom of the giant. Together. She'll be back soon. So here's the plan. We're going to feed Jack to the giant.
What?
We're going to use you as bait to lure the giant towards the tar pit.
Oh.
Suddenly, a swarm of birds appears overhead.
The birds can help. Oh, good friends, we need your help more than ever. What of the prince?
She looks to the baker awkwardly, then resolute.
That doesn't matter now. What's important is that we find a way to defeat the giant. Oh, yes, thank you, birds.
The birds fly off. The others look at her with amazement. You can talk to birds?
The birds will do their part.
Okay. We don't have much time.
I'm excited.
Here's what we're going to do.
The baker leads them away from the tar pit. Exterior woods, tall trees, night. Cinderella settles the baby.
Your father's being very brave. We're going to be brave too.
Cinderella's prince is passing a nearby path on horseback. He stops when he sees Cinderella.
Are you all right, miss?
The giant went in that direction.
He rides closer.
My darling. Not recognize you. What are you doing here? And with a child? You must go back to the castle at once. There's a giant on the loose.
I'm well aware of that.
He comes and puts his arms around her, but she pulls away.
My love, what is it?
Maybe I'm not your only love.
I love you. Truly, I do.
If you love me, why did you stray?
I thought if you were mine, that I would never wish for more.
If this is how you behave as a prince, what kind of king will you be?
I was raised to be charming, not sincere.
I think you should go.
Not going to leave you.
Consider that I've been lost, a victim of the giant.
Is that really what you wish?
My father's house was a nightmare. Your house was a dream. Now I want something in between.
She takes off her wedding ring and gives it back to him. He stands there for a moment, then mounts his horse.
She'll always love the maiden who ran away.
And I, the faraway prince.
The prince rides off. Exterior woods, tall trees. Angle on a tree by the tar pit. The baker is scaling his way up the tall tree. Jack follows him, each carrying slings and stones. A branch gives way under Jack, but he's able to keep his balance.
Careful there, not so fast.
You needn't worry. This is easier than a beanstalk.
Angle on Cinderella. She's sitting on a tree stump, rocking the baby. Little Red Riding Hood returns. They're in the tree. Over there. We made slings out of my cape. Little Red Riding Hood sits next to Cinderella. I wanted to climb too.
I'm glad you're here to help me.
Little Red Riding Hood turns her head away.
What's wrong?
I think my mother and my granny would be upset with me.
Why?
They always said to make them proud. And here I am about to kill somebody.
Not somebody, a giant who's done a lot of harm.
But a giant's a person. Aren't we supposed to show forgiveness?
Mother cannot guide you. Now you're on your own. Only me beside you. Still you're not alone. No one is alone. Truly, no one is alone.
I wish.
I know.
Angle on tree. The baker and Jack position themselves on a limb within the tree.
Wait until my mother hears I've slain the giant.
Jack, there's something you have to know. Mother,
What?
she didn't make it.
Was she killed by the giant?
No, it wasn't like that. She was fighting with the giant, trying to protect you. And she was pushed by the steward, and she fell.
Steward will pay for this.
No, Jack,
After we slay the giant, I will slay him.
you'll do nothing of the kind.
What he did was wrong. He should be punished.
It's not as easy as that.
Cut back and forth.
Mother isn't here now.
Wrong things, right things.
Who knows what she'd say?
Who can say what's true?
Nothing's quite so clear
Do
now.
things, fight things.
Feel you've lost your way.
You decide, but you are not alone.
Alone, believe me, no one is alone.
Believe me,
Truly,
people make
make mistakes.
mistakes.
Mothers, people make mistakes. Holding to their own, thinking they're alone. Honor their
Fight
mistakes.
for their mistakes.
Everybody makes one
One
another's
another's
terrible mistakes. Witches can be right, giants
Giants
can be good. You decide what's right, you decide what's good. Just remember, someone is on your side.
Our side.
Someone else is not. While we're singing our side, our side. Maybe we forgot. They are not alone. No one is alone. Someone is on your side. No one is alone.
They're interrupted by the ominous sounds of the approaching giant. Here she comes! Angle on Jack and the baker.
Go, Jack. Be careful.
Angle on the giant's feet, destroying everything in its path. Angle on Jack as he scurries up higher in the tree. Wide shot. The giant approaches Little Red Riding Hood and Cinderella.
Where's the boy?
We have him!
Where?
He's hiding in that tree! Jack pops up and reveals himself at the top of the tree.
Haha, ready. Here I am.
The giant begins to move aggressively towards Jack. Jack and the baker load their slings.
Ready?
Ready.
Angle on the giant's feet, trampling everything in her path. Suddenly, she steps into the expanse of the tar pit, which slowly stops her in her tracks. She fights to free herself as she begins to sink. Series of shots. The birds fly from the trees. Baker's point of view through the tree branches as the birds swarm around the head of the giant. Cinderella and Little Red Riding Hood watch and hear the giant screams.
Good birds.
She doesn't look happy. The baker and Jack use their slings to fire stones at the giant. Jack shimmies to the end of a high limb for better aim. The giant reaches blindly toward Jack. Look out, Jack! The giant seizes hold of the branch where Jack is standing, which knocks Jack off. Jack catches himself on the way down, grabbing the branch, and hangs on for dear life. Using one hand, Jack whirls his sling and delivers a knockout blow to the giant's forehead. The giant reacts and begins to sway. Baker's POV of the giant's eye as she falls towards him. The giant's hand grabs some tree branches as she fights for her balance. We hear the cracking branches as the giant falls, pulling the tree down with her, snapping it in a final deafening thud. Exterior woods, tall trees. Cinderella and Little Red Riding Hood run around the gigantic exposed roots.
Where are they?
Jack? Mr. Baker?
Jack?
Over here.
Jack! Will you take him? Little Red Riding Hood takes the baby as Cinderella helps Jack out of the tree roots.
Oh, be careful. Are you all right?
Where is he?
He's not with you?
Mr. Baker! All three feverishly look for him.
Jack! Jack!
Help me! Help me!
Jack, I'm here.
Cinderella helps Jack lift the tree branch as the baker, breathless, crawls out from beneath its grasp. He is scratched up, but relieved. Cinderella takes the baby from Little Red Riding Hood.
Let me take him.
Are you okay? Are you all right? We did it. We did it. Come here.
They embrace the baker. There's a moment of realization of what just happened as they look up at the roots of the fallen tree.
Now we can all return home.
What home? I have no one to take care of me.
And we have nowhere to go. So we'll move in with you.
Well,
He hesitates. Then,
of course you can. Come home with me.
And you can come too.
If you want to.
I'll gladly help you with your house. There are times when I actually enjoy cleaning.
baby begins to whimper. The baker walks towards Cinderella and his son.
Here, give him to me.
The baker walks away from the group, trying to settle his son. He wraps his scarf around the baby.
Hey, come on now. Hey, please, come on. Come on, it's okay. I know you miss your mother.
The baker sits on a fallen tree trunk.
I miss her too.
The baby cries. The baby still cries.
Maybe I just wasn't meant to have children.
The baker hears his wife's voice. We see her over his shoulder.
Don't say that. Of course you were meant to have children.
How can I go about being a father when I had no father to show me?
Just calm the child.
Just calm the child.
Look, tell him the story of how it all happened. Be father and mother. You'll know what to do.
Alone.
Sometimes people leave you halfway through the wood. Do not let it grieve you. No one leaves for good. You are not alone. No one is alone. Hold him to the light now. Let him see the glow. Things will be all right now. Tell him what you know.
As the baker holds his son close, the baby begins to calm down for the first time in his father's arms, and his wife disappears. The baker tells the story to his son, the same story as we heard at the beginning.
In a time,
Careful
Far
the
off
things
here.
you say.
there lay a small village at the edge of the woods.
Children will listen.
In this village lived a young maiden,
Careful the things you
a
do.
carefree young lad.
Children will see.
Childless baker
And learn.
with his wife.
Little Red Riding Hood, Jack, and Cinderella join the baker.
And one day, the baker and his wife
Guide them
were
along the
shot.
way.
A witch burst in,
Children will glisten.
blowing the door off its hinges.
Children will look to you for which way to turn to learn what to be. Careful before you say Listen to me. Children will listen.
The light of a new dawn streams down on them, framing the newly formed family. As the baker continues to tell the story, the camera slowly pulls up overhead to reveal the vast woods, now changed by the giant's path. The camera carries us back beyond the woods into the village where we see the destruction that has visited it.
Careful the wish
you make. Wishes are children.
Careful the path they
take.
Wishes come true, not free. Careful the spell you cast, not just on children. Sometimes the spell may last past what you can see, and then against you.
The camera finally pans up from the village to the sky, and we are returned to where we began, the gray clouds of an early morning sky.
Careful the tale you tell, that is the spell. Children will listen.
Fade to black. The end.
All right. That was Hunter, Jessica, Angela, Paul, Ryan, Travis, Jarod, and Bridget. You guys did a great job. This was Into the Woods. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.